had, and that's why we're joined by Chef Marshall.
And there's a lot of other ways to get good fats into your life besides avocado, walnuts, olive oil. You need healthy fats to help keep blood sugar stable, which is a great source for omega-3s to help kids with that stable energy. So this is an awesome example of a hydrating dish, and all of them are really easy. Save time, save money, nourish right. The money when you buy stuff that's in season, the produce I'm talking about, not only is it you know, I try to make everyone's eating nourishing foods easy in your life. How do you take the stress out of it?
Delicious. These recipes will be on our website, but where else can people go to get other recipes?
Yes, well, you can go to chefmarshallobrien.com. Hey, good evening, everybody. Chef Marshall O'Brien here. Thank you for tuning in. We had a little bit of technical difficulties tonight, but I think we are there. You know, every week I come to you because we want to give you awesome, great tasting recipes and give you the tools that you want and need so you can take control of your life in the kitchen. Because the reality is there's a lot of people out there that have got problems in the kitchen, and not only does it affect their day, but it affects their life. That's why we put the show together, because we want to empower you to help yourself in the kitchen and in life so that you can make the changes that you want in your life using smart nutrition. Maybe you just want to make more real food so you're not reliant on someone else to prepare for you. Maybe you want to eat better to feel better. And I'm having a brain fart. The technical difficulties are up in my head now. Well, here's the thing. There are 3 things that you want to have to make this happen. Number 1 is you got to know why smart nutrition can work for you. Nourishing is different than eating, folks. You can eat to live or you can nourish to thrive. And when you nourish your body, you're going to perform, feel, and look your best. It's that simple. Foods can either work for you or they're going to work against you. Second thing you got to understand is you got to have a process. You got to have a pathway to get started. And that's why, if you're looking for a solution, we have our Smart Nutrition Workbook. Check that out. It's super awesome. Going to help you get started. Third thing you need is you need tools to help you along your journey, like this show, the recipes, the tips, the support that we give you, and our newly published Smart Nutrition Cookbook and Meal Planner. And by the way, folks, if you order both of those today, use the code SMARTNUT2, you can get 15% off when you're watching the show. So definitely check those out. Great solutions to help you get started. Look, matter of fact, the bottom line is if you want to be in control of your life, you got to start in the kitchen, and you got to have a plan. It's Thursday night. It's time to start having a plan, and you want to make sure that you know what recipes you're going to have. You want to get your groceries on the weekend, so when you wake up, when that alarm goes off Monday morning, you got peace of mind knowing that you got your breakfast covered. You've got your lunches and your snacks covered, and you're feeling really good about what you're going to do to eat so that you can get through the day with energy to spare. So really want you to focus on what's your plan. Part of that plan is watching our show. And matter of fact, I got an awesome recipe for you tonight. We have a sauteed shrimp with spinach salad. It's phenomenal. It's ridiculously easy, and it tastes fabulous, because if it doesn't taste good, it doesn't matter how much it's going to help you get through your day. Every show, whenever I'm doing recipes, I want you to write in with questions. You've got questions on how to make the recipe. You've got questions on shopping, nutrition labels, because let's face it, nutrition labels in today's busy world are confusing as ever, and a lot of people who buy packaged foods want to make smart choices, and you can if you know how to read nutrition label. Maybe you got picky eaters at home. Could be the parents as well as the kids, okay? That's the reality on that. You want to help with that. Write in. I'm here to help you, all right? That's why we're here every week. Any questions you have? So we're going to be getting into this recipe here. It's an awesome recipe. Like I said, a sauteed shrimp spinach recipe, really, really simple. Beautiful ingredients. It's got assortment of colors and textures and flavors. I mean, after all, we eat with our eyes. So you want to make it look good, and so it'll obviously got to smell good and taste good as well. So let's start out with what do we have for tonight? And my faithful Jillian will be giving me questions and comments as we go along in the show. Starting with our recipe, we have shrimp. We're using a 16, 20-count shrimp. If you want to go bigger shrimp, that's fine. We'll talk more about ins and outs of shrimp later. We have some fresh basil. We have tomato, lemon, some red onion, and we have some spinach, a little paprika, salt, and some olive oil. It's pretty easy, folks. Really easy. I want to make things simple for you that taste great and that you're going to love, and you're going to want to make these and come back for more. First things to first, you got to be prepared and organized. We got our ingredients. We got our cutting board. We got our knife. Watch your fingers. We're set. We want to get our pan heated up. It's always important to preheat your pan, especially if you are if you put the heat on too fast, it can warp your pan. Then your pan's going to be all wobbly and not going to sit right on your stovetop, and you don't want that to happen, and it could scorch your food and things like that. So you want to preheat your pan up. We have our pan almost hot. I have a large skillet here. We're going to use that. While that is warming up, I'm going to take our shrimp, and we're going to take a little bit of olive oil here. We take about a tablespoon of oil, and you can measure that out, but I'm just going to do a little TV eye magic right there. So about a tablespoon of olive oil. Now we're going to take our paprika here.
Does the shrimp have to be raw shrimp, or can it be frozen?
The question is, in this bowl, doesn't want to let go of that paprika. It loves it that much. We're going to do half the salt here. The question, you can use really any kind of shrimp you want to use. What I would say, if you're going to go, you said shrimp fresh or frozen. Is that what you said? If you're going to do fresh, it's going to cook a little bit longer. Like we're using fresh shrimp here. If you do cooked shrimp, it's going to probably take half the time because you're basically heating up the shrimp. So just keep that in mind. And you know what? Every recipe that we do, I mean, when you're cooking like this, cooking is an art. And as you get comfortable and you get the skills, and maybe you've got the skills, maybe you've got the confidence, but if you don't, as you practice, you'll develop both of those. And then you can start to, experiment and try different ingredients, different ways that they're prepped and that sort of thing. So you can use either one to answer your question. All right, we've mixed up with the paprika, some olive oil, and a little bit of salt in our bowl. I use, as I said, 16, 20-count shrimp. You can see they're fairly big here. I left the tail on because I get a nice little flavor, little extra flavor from the tail and all that. I'm going to keep that on. If you want to pull the tail shell off, you can. I just leave it on. It looks kind of fun too. We're going to get our pan heated up a little bit hot. Now, one way you can tell that your pan is hot is by, I don't necessarily suggest sticking your hand in there, but you can feel the heat radiating. And I got the asbestos hands because I cook a lot, so I kind of touch it a little bit. And that feels pretty hot. And I have a little sensitivity there. That's good. All right. We're going to let that pan heat up. It's really important that you don't add too much to your pan because especially if it's really cold food, it'll suck all the heat out of your pan, and now you're just sort of like stewing and simmering in your food, and it's not going to give you the technique you want. So pay attention to that. We've got a nice hot pan. We have tossed our shrimp nice together here. This is going to go fairly quick. In theory, I should say, it's going to go fairly quick. So when you put your shrimp in the pan, be prepared to make your dressing. We're going to make a simple dressing and then get things going on that. All right, we're going to add this to the pan. We're going to add the oil, a little bit of the oil to the pan, and you already have oil with the shrimp. Just remember that. You can tell that the pan is hot because the oil is shimmering. Nice shot there, Gary. All right, we're going to add this. It's going to sizzle. Pour away from yourself because it's not going to feel good if you pour towards yourself and you splatter yourself. We got the shrimp going there. Make sure you have your heat going. See how you can hear the heat kind of sucking out of the pan. You want to make sure that it doesn't go too fast. So we have our shrimp going. Now while that is starting to cook, I got to make just a real simple vinaigrette. We're going to take lime. I got so excited talking to you tonight, folks. I forgot to add the lime zest. So we're going to take a lime zest. You can use a little small fine grater. If you have a lemon zester, I say go for that. But we're going to take some zest. The zest is the outer oily part of the skin on the lemon, and it's going to just smell phenomenal. I mean, you can see that. Look at that right there. I like that. See that? How we got that? We're going to zest this lemon. We're going to zest a couple lemons.
Joan is wondering, should you devein the shrimp before you cook it?
You should devein the shrimp. I mean, this might not be PC, but if you like shrimp poop, then don't. But I'd say devein it because really, when you're deveining it, that is like the intestine chute of where all the whatever. I'm digging myself a hole right now. Yeah, devein the shrimp, and it's pretty simple. But the nice thing about it is you can buy shrimp that's already deveined, and I think it's worth the convenience of paying that extra money to have it already deveined. So go for it. Have it deveined while you're doing it. We're going to add our zest in here. Notice how I'm using my cutting board. I'm using the back end of my knife. I'm always trying to show you the proper skills to help you so you can really have a successful experience in the kitchen. If you have a successful experience in the kitchen, if you're doing it right and feeling good, you're going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So remember that. So we're adding that zest. Got a nice nice aroma going there. We're going to let that continue to cook there. Now we're going to take some lemon juice, add it with our olive oil, and we're going to do a couple tablespoons. Squeeze that out. If you want to use a citrus reamer, that's kind of fun. Or you can do as I'm doing and just get your hands in there. You know, one thing that's really nice about using fresh lemon is it's not just really refreshing, but it will clean your hands. And if you have cuts on your hands, you will be reminded of that too. So we've got some nice oil going in there. We're making a very, very simple vinaigrette. And I can't wait to add the next ingredient, which is going to be, I need a towel, but anyways, let's see, magic right here. We're going to use a hat for a towel because that's all I have. All right, so we're going to do that. Basil, fresh basil. You want some awesome fresh basil in there. This is going to taste excellent. We're going to take the leaves here. Basil is very delicate. It bruises easily, and it can kind of get a real off color. It's still going to taste fine, but you want to pay attention, and when you cut it with a really sharp knife, and be gentle with it, because as I said, it can brown fast, and it can get really funky and slimy and all that. So you'll see how we're taking, rolling up the basil like this, and then we're going to slice it really, really thin, and we're going to put it into our lemon and our olive oil and a little bit of salt. I mean, this is really, really simple. Take that and look at how great that is. If you have any questions, please write us in, write into us and ask, and we're here to answer your questions.
Cam is wondering, how can you cut the herbs without cutting your fingers?
A lot of practice. But now not only is it a lot of practice, it's also having the right equipment. You want to make sure that you have a sharp knife. Sharp knife is a safe knife. If you have a dull knife and you're like just like really, really wrenching on, or whatever you call it, like really cutting really hard and trying to get your food chopped up, if it's a dull knife, you could slip and cut yourself. So it's practice. Now, what I forgot what was the name? They were asking is, how do you actually do it? You notice how I tuck in my fingers. I'm going to show you with this tomato here. We want to get, while our shrimp is about halfway done here. This is looking great. We're going to take a tomato and I'm going to cut it. Notice how I'm using my knuckles as a guide. This is a great tip. I want people to really focus on using your knuckles as a guide. I'm just going to do a quick little core. TV magic here. I should do it towards you so you can see. If you want to do a little fancy core, I don't care. You could use a fancy core, a little knife, but whatever works for you. We're going to take, and I'm using my knuckles as a guide, just like that. In this instance, I would highly recommend sticking with a fresh tomato. If you want to go with cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes, that's fine. Don't go canned tomatoes, because this is going to be part of your salad, and you want the texture and you want the freshness of the tomatoes. It's really going to make your salad really jump out and just taste fabulous. So we're just chopping these up. It's a rough chop, nothing fancy about it. Notice how I use my knuckles as a guide, and I let the knife do the work. I could do this every week, and I'm going to do this every week because I want you to practice every week. Maybe get your cutting board and your knife out next time, and you can do this with me, because I'm always going to show you in advance what the recipes are, get the ingredients, have your equipment, and you can practice. And then you can take a picture and show me, Chef, I'm really committed to this. I'm practicing. So use your knuckles as a guide and let the knife do the work. We're going to pop these onto our salad. I think this is an easy recipe. Let me know on Facebook. Do you think this looks like an easy recipe? The shrimp's almost done. We've got spinach there all ready to go. We got the tomatoes in there. We got the red onions in there. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than this. Our shrimp. Oh, here's a tip. Here's a tip. Let shrimp get to room temperature in an ideal world, so that when you put it in the pan, it doesn't suck the heat out. And I was talking about the importance of, keeping that heat consistency. My shrimp was a little cold. Don't tell anybody, though, okay? So, not bad. Still worked out. Having said that, the more organized you are, the easier life's going to be in the kitchen, so you can be in control of the kitchen and do what you want to do. Next.
Emma is wondering, should the shrimp be translucent or pink when removed from?
You don't want to get sick while you're eating, okay? That's a really, it's good to understand that a lot of times food tends to get overcooked. Now, having said that, you can have shrimp that is just turned pink, and it's going to have a great texture, and it's going to be pink, but not like blazing white pink that, like, if you were to, like drop it on the countertop, it would bounce around like a hockey puck. The point is, you don't want it transparent because it's still raw. You want it more of an opaque look, and it's just turned pink. That would be optimal. I want you to be comfortable. So if you need to have it thoroughly cooked and in order for you to enjoy it, absolutely, I want you to enjoy it. But that's a really good question. Thank you for asking that. And matter of fact, these are just about done. I'm going to cut up some of my onion now. If you want to do onion slices, you want to do onion rings, you want to do chopped onion, make them big enough pieces so that you can actually get a little piece of the tomato, a little piece of the shrimp, a little piece of the onion with the spinach. Now here's that technique again that I was talking about. I'm going to let the knife do the work and just do these thin slices like this. Okay, taking my time. You don't have to go fast. And you can see here. Now, if you're a real foodie and you want to get real fancy and have really, really thin slices, you can get a mandolin, which is this fancy tool. You don't have to have it. But now we have these little pieces. If you want bigger chunks, like you're doing kebabs, well, you would cut it differently. I think we'll go with this, and I think that'll look really nice. Get a nice little texture. We're going to add that to our pan here, or to our bowl. At this point, I'm going to turn off the shrimp because they're basically all cooked. And the thing is they're going to cook a few more degrees even as they're setting. And they're obviously in a hot pan, so they're going to continue to cook a bit. So you want to focus on time management. It's really important when you're preparing. Beautiful thing with this recipe is you could have all of this prepped in advance, and then you could just have your shrimp ready to go, cooked, and then just add it here. You could have them as a chilled shrimp spinach salad. You could have them hot like we're going to have. You could do it a variety of ways. Whatever makes life easier for you, I want you to make that happen. So we have that. We have our very tasty. You got a question?
Yeah. Michael asked, what other herbs can you use instead of basil?
You could use fresh thyme. Yeah, oregano and rosemary I think might be a little strong. I do like those herbs, and I would say if you want to try them, go for it. But kind of think parallel flavors that from basil, parsley, cilantro. Those are all sorta equal flavor. Tarragon might actually be really nice in there. There's a lot of ways you could go. If you have summer savory, the savory herb would be really nice. That's what I would do. Another thing with the spices, I always would encourage you to, if you're going to go from fresh to dried, think about how they're being applied. So in this case, in a vinaigrette, that'll work. Dried herbs, cut it by a third because dried herbs are 3 times more potent than fresh. The reason why that would work is because you have the oil and the lemon juice to absorb and make the texture of the dried herbs palatable. You ever try to eat dried herbs? It's like eating paper. I mean, literally, because it is paper, right? It happens, it's just little. Anyways, you get my point. But that'll work. Where I wouldn't use dried herbs is if you were going to say, put your spinach in here, or put your shrimp in there, and then you're going to put a bunch of dried herbs on top. That wouldn't do the job. All right. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take we have a little moisture in here that accumulated in the shrimp, but we're going to leave we're going to leave the liquid out, but we're going to add our shrimp into our salad. Remember, we have the lemon zest, a little bit of the paprika. We have the paprika, and we have the salt and a little bit of olive oil. Something else a little nuance that you may or may not be aware of is when you freeze things. When you freeze stuff, obviously the cells and whatever it is that you're freezing, they expand. They microscopically blow up. And then when you thaw them out, there's water that is remnants, that is left over from the freezing process because the ice inside the cells, thaw into water. I'm going down a little rabbit hole, but my point is you will get moisture that accumulates. So like I cooked that shrimp, well, there is excess moisture that came out of there. So it's just something for you to think about when you're preparing recipes. You notice how I didn't just dump my whole pan of shrimp in my bowl of salad. I mean, unless you wanted to have that be part of the vinaigrette, and you could do that. I wasn't bowl. Basil thing. Can you see that? I don't want to dump it all over myself, but all right, look at that. That's going to be tasty. We're going to pour that in our spinach salad. Okay.
Peter was taking a look at that, and he was wondering, is that the right proportion of shrimp? It looks like a lot for the amount of other greens you have.
Well, it is a lot, and the shrimp also sort of weighed down everything. Yeah, good question. But you could add, if you want to adjust the quantities, we always try to, our whole Smart Nutrition philosophy is we say focus on about 6 ounces of protein per serving. So this, in theory, will accomplish that. And then you've got these great vegetables, slow carbohydrates like we talk about, that are going to help you keep your blood sugar stable for consistent energy. Listen, folks, like I said, food either works for you or works against you. And the biggest thing you got to have, and I say this all the time, 3 things to focus on. Good protein, we got the protein in the shrimp. Good slow carbohydrates, the spinach, the onions, the tomatoes. They're all fiber-dense foods. They're going to help keep your blood sugar stable. And then we got healthy fats from the olive oil with our simple vinaigrette. You can't go wrong with this. You're good to go. It's going to be very, very simple. Very simple, very delicious. This looks wonderful. Now, maybe what I would say is get a bigger bowl because my bowl is kind of overflowing. My wife gives me a hard time all the time. She's like, you put the stuff, it's too small, and then it goes everywhere. Well, that's one of my lovable quirks, I guess. Okay. Let me plate some up for myself. Got any other questions?
Yeah, Brendan actually just joined in a few minutes ago, and he was looking at the shrimp and wondered, should you keep the tails on, or should we take them off?
It is all personal preference, in my opinion. One of the benefits of having the tails is because the shell has its own flavor. So depending on, like, this is a real quick cook, right? If I was doing like some kind of shrimp bisque or a cioppino or a paella or something that was a longer cooking process, the tails will bring flavor out into that recipe. With this, it doesn't matter so much. It's more of a fun, it's more of a texture thing, and it looks fun. And I like having the shrimp tails on there, so I'd say leave them. It's kind of a personal preference in this situation. All right. Well, at this point, I think it's time for me to give it a little taste. What I would do if you want to make this for the week is I would, just like we prepped our vegetables, and then I would portion them in a single serving container, whether it's glass or plastic, totally up to you. And then we have our shrimp separate, and then you can have that portioned out appropriately. Then you take those with you to work. You could have the vinaigrette with the shrimp. That's fine because the shrimp's already cooked. Don't put it with the greens. When you get to work or when it's time to have your lunch or your meal or whatever, then just put the shrimp on top of the greens with the vinaigrette that's already there. And presto, you got a fabulous, great tasting recipe. Going to be awesome, and you're going to be a happy camper. So that's what I would do with that. All right, let me give this a taste of this. I sometimes chew the tails. I'm weird like that, but you can certainly take it like this and just, yum. That basil is so fresh, and that lemon is so fresh. Again, how easy with that? Hey, let me know on Facebook. How many of you think that looked easy, and would you make this at home? Yum, yum.
How long would you be able to keep the leftovers? How long would you be able to keep the leftovers?
How long would you be able to keep leftovers? I say this will last you a couple days. If you dress your salad, kind of an obvious one, but moisture is public enemy number 1 to vegetables, especially with really delicate greens like spinach. So I would always keep I'd always keep the shrimp and the vinaigrette separate if you want to have this multiple times. So if you do it that way, it will serve you probably 3 days. Great question. Can I keep eating? This is really yummy here. Every week we're bringing you fantastic, easy, great tasting recipes and help so that you can make the changes you want in your life with Smart Nutrition. Follow our program and you will love the way you feel. Tune in next week. We got another awesome recipe. I look forward to having you on board.